Those violations could potentially cause foodborne illness if not corrected. That 66 is a failing score.
Have you ever sat down for breakfast only to wonder when it stopped feeling like breakfast at all? There was a time when morning meals felt simple: warm plates, slow coffee, and food that filled more than just your stomach. But somewhere along the way, did we trade comfort for convenience without even noticing? Today, we take a deep dive into which breakfast chains are worth your morning and which ones quietly aren't. So let us start with the ones to avoid. 1. IHOP, avoid. IHOP used to feel like a breakfast reward. Pancakes with whipped butter, syrup on the table, bottomless coffee, and that soft hum of conversations in booths lined with sunlight. It was the kind of place you'd go with your grandparents after church or with friends after a long night out. But the IHOP people walk into today isn't the same place it used to be. Not in the food, not in the feeling, and not in the care behind either. The first signs are subtle. Pancakes that cool too quickly, sausage links that taste like they were microwaved, coffee that burns your tongue but somehow still feels weak. Former employees say much of the food now comes frozen or pre-prepped, with fewer items actually made in-house. The pancake batter, once mixed fresh daily with real buttermilk, now often arrives pre-portioned in bags, stored cold and poured without a second thought. It's consistent, but not in a way that makes it better, just predictable. Flat. The texture has changed too. Pancakes used to have weight, that slight crackle on the edge from a real hot griddle. Now they're soft and spongy, sometimes pale in the center, like they were cooked just long enough to pass inspection, but not long enough to carry flavor. One former line cook said the emphasis was always on speed. Keep the place moving. Don't worry if the inside's a little underdone. The toppings cover it anyway. And that's become the model. Toppings overtake the food itself. Syrups, whipped cream, candy sprinkles, fruit sauces. They give the illusion of variety, but they also serve a quieter purpose, covering what's underneath. Health inspection records from multiple IHOP locations show recurring violations for temperature control. Pancake batter stored at improper temperatures, eggs held too long in warming trays, and bacon cooked in batches, then left under heat lamps for hours. The coffee situation is particularly troubling. Multiple former employees have described coffee sitting in pots for hours, sometimes reheated multiple times throughout a shift. That bottomless cup promise becomes less appealing when you realize what you're actually drinking. Even the eggs, once cracked fresh for every order, are increasingly coming from liquid egg products in cartons. The scrambled eggs have that telltale uniform texture that screams processed, not farm fresh. IHOP's still friendly. The booths are still warm. The signage still says international. But the food that used to feel like a treat has been managed into something forgettable. 2. Denny's, avoid. Denny's used to be the last place open, and sometimes that made it the best. Whether it was midnight coffee or a 6 a.m. breakfast before hitting the road, Denny's served something warm when everywhere else had closed up. But what felt like a late-night refuge has become, in many places, just another stop in a system that no longer remembers how to slow down. The menu is massive, but the care behind it isn't. Pancakes, eggs, sausage, bacon, it all looks right on the plate, but bite into it and you feel the shortcut. One longtime customer said it best. It's like they're imitating breakfast now, not making it. Former kitchen staff agree. Much of the food now arrives frozen or vacuum sealed, designed to be unwrapped, reheated, and served. Even the eggs, once cracked fresh for every order, are sometimes poured from cartons depending on location. The hash browns come out undercooked in the center yet burned on the edges. Bacon tastes more like salt and smoke flavoring than actual pork. Pancakes go cold faster than they should, and the coffee, endlessly refillable, somehow tastes thinner with every cup. One server admitted they were told to stretch old pots during slow shifts. Just keep it hot, not necessarily fresh. Health inspection reports reveal concerning patterns across multiple Denny's locations. Eggs held at unsafe temperatures, raw meat stored improperly, and cleaning protocols that are more suggestion than requirement. The biggest issue isn't the ingredients, It's the atmosphere of indifference. Denny's used to feel like a place where something was still happening, no matter the time. But now the food feels like it's going through the motions. The Grand Slam breakfast, once a point of pride, has become an exercise in portion management rather than quality preparation. Each component, eggs, bacon, sausage, pancakes, arrives from a different reheating station, assembled quickly and sent out before anyone notices the bacon is lukewarm or the eggs are rubbery. 3. McDonald's breakfast, avoid. McDonald's revolutionized fast breakfast with the Egg McMuffin, and for years their breakfast items felt like a reasonable compromise between speed and satisfaction. But the current state of McDonald's breakfast tells a different story. The eggs in most breakfast sandwiches come from a liquid egg product that's poured into ring molds and cooked on flat-top grills. While technically eggs, they lack the texture and flavor of eggs cracked fresh. The result is a uniform, spongy dish that tastes more like egg-flavored foam than actual eggs. The hash browns, once crispy and golden, are now often served lukewarm and soggy. They're pre-formed potato patties that are frozen, shipped, and fried in oil that isn't changed as frequently as it should be. Former employees describe oil that's used for days, giving everything a stale, greasy aftertaste. The sausage patties arrive pre-cooked and frozen, then reheated on grills that aren't always properly cleaned between batches. Cross-contamination between different proteins is common, and temperature control is inconsistent. Health inspections have repeatedly cited McDonald's locations for breakfast-specific violations: egg products held at unsafe temperatures, hash browns cooked in old oil, and English muffins toasted on surfaces that haven't been properly cleaned. The coffee, while improved in recent years, still suffers from inconsistent brewing and cleaning protocols. The machines that make specialty drinks are complex and require regular maintenance that doesn't always happen on schedule. Perhaps most concerning is the speed pressure. Breakfast items are expected to be ready in under 90 seconds, which leaves little room for proper cooking or quality control. Food safety becomes secondary to drive-through times. 4. Dunkin' avoid. Dunkin' built its reputation on coffee and donuts, but their expansion into breakfast sandwiches and other morning items has revealed serious quality control issues. The donuts, once made fresh in store, now arrive frozen from central bakeries. They're thawed and finished on site, but the texture and flavor reflect their frozen journey. What used to be light and airy is now often dense and artificial tasting. The breakfast sandwiches are assembled from pre-cooked components that are reheated when ordered. The eggs come pre-scrambled and frozen, the bacon is pre-cooked and reheated, and even the English muffins are often stale by the time they're toasted. Former employees describe a system focused entirely on speed, with little attention to food safety or quality. Ingredients are often held at improper temperatures, and cross-contamination between different items is common. The coffee, Dunkin's signature product, has become increasingly inconsistent. Machines aren't cleaned regularly, filters aren't changed on schedule, and the coffee often sits in pots far longer than it should. The flavored syrups mask a lot of problems, but black coffee reveals the truth. Health inspection records show recurring violations at Dunkin' locations nationwide. Improper food storage, inadequate cleaning procedures, and temperature control failures that put customers at risk. 5. Subway breakfast, avoid. Subway's venture into breakfast feels like an afterthought, and the food quality reflects that lack of commitment. The eggs aren't cracked, they're frozen slabs, yellow squares of pre-cooked protein reheated in the same toaster that melts cheese. One former manager said, "The egg patties come stacked in plastic and are pulled from a cooler in batches. They're designed to look uniform, taste neutral, and heat fast. It's not really an egg, it's a protein shape." The bread, which used to have a faint crisp when toasted, now often comes out limp and gummy. That's because it's steamed during toasting, trapped in the same small space as melting cheese and frozen meats. Even the bacon is flat and flavorless. It arrives pre-cooked, curls slightly when reheated, but doesn't sizzle. Once it cools, it hardens into something closer to a meat chip than a slice of bacon. The coffee, when offered, is often a side note. One machine, one button, a cup that tastes like it was brewed last week. While few people come to Subway for coffee, the fact that it's so forgettable tells you something about how breakfast is handled overall. Subway breakfasts aren't made. They're assembled, designed for speed and volume, not for satisfaction, not for mornings where you want something that feels real. The two hidden gems. 1. Cracker Barrel, worth it. Cracker Barrel still looks the part and, more importantly, still delivers on its breakfast promises. Wooden rocking chairs out front, country store inside, and peg games on the table while you wait. But unlike many chains trading on nostalgia, Cracker Barrel's food actually lives up to the atmosphere. The pancakes have real weight and texture. They're made from scratch batter, mixed fresh daily, and cooked on griddles that are properly seasoned and maintained. The edges have that slight crispness that comes from real cooking, not reheating. The eggs are cracked fresh for every order. You can taste the difference. They have the irregular texture and rich flavor that only comes from actual eggs, not liquid egg products. The hash browns are hand-cut and cooked to order, with crispy edges and fluffy centers. The biscuits deserve special mention. They're made from scratch throughout the day, with real buttermilk and butter. The texture is flaky and tender, and they're served warm because they were actually just baked, not reheated. Former employees consistently report that food safety and freshness are genuine priorities. Ingredients are rotated properly, temperatures are monitored closely, and there's real training on proper cooking techniques. Health inspection records show consistently high scores across most Cracker Barrel locations, with fewer violations than comparable chains. The higher food costs seem to translate into better ingredients and more careful preparation. The coffee is brewed fresh throughout the day, not left sitting in pots for hours. The sausage and bacon are cooked to order, not pre-cooked and reheated. Even the gravy is made from scratch, not from powder mixes. While it's not gourmet dining, Cracker Barrel delivers authentic comfort food breakfast that tastes like it was prepared with care. 2. Waffle House, worth it. Waffle House might not look like much from the outside, but it represents something increasingly rare in breakfast chains: actual cooking. The waffles are made to order from fresh batter, cooked in irons that are properly maintained and seasoned. They have the crispy exterior and fluffy interior that only comes from proper technique and timing. The eggs are cracked fresh for every order, cooked on flat-top grills by cooks who actually know how to cook eggs properly. Whether you want them over easy, scrambled, or in an omelet, they're prepared individually with skill and attention. The hash browns are legendary for good reason. They're made from fresh potatoes, hand-cut and cooked on the grill with various toppings and preparations. The scattered, smothered, and covered isn't just marketing. It's a cooking technique that produces consistently excellent results. The bacon and sausage are cooked fresh throughout the day, not pre-cooked and reheated. The toast is made from real bread, toasted to order on the same grill where everything else is prepared. Perhaps most importantly, you can watch your food being prepared. The open kitchen concept isn't just for show, it's a commitment to transparency. You can see that your eggs are being cracked fresh, your waffle batter is being poured, and your hash browns are being cooked to your specifications. Former employees report extensive training on proper cooking techniques and food safety. The turnover is lower than most chain restaurants, which means more experienced cooks who take pride in their work. Health inspection records show that most Waffle House locations maintain good food safety standards, despite the high-volume, fast-paced environment. The coffee is simple but consistently fresh, brewed regularly throughout the day. The atmosphere might be no frills, but the food is honest and satisfying. The bottom line: the difference between these breakfast chains isn't just about taste, it's about integrity. The chains worth avoiding have built their business models on shortcuts, pre-prepared foods, and the hope that customers won't notice the difference between real cooking and industrial food assembly. The two hidden gems still treat breakfast preparation as a craft, not just a process. They invest in proper training, quality ingredients, and cooking techniques that respect both the food and the customer. When you're choosing where to start your day, remember that breakfast sets the tone for everything that follows. Do you want to begin with food that was prepared with care and attention? Or are you willing to settle for reheated convenience disguised as comfort food? Your morning deserves better than microwaved eggs and frozen pancakes served with artificial syrup. It deserves the kind of breakfast that reminds you why people used to say it was the most important meal of the day. The next time you're craving a real breakfast, skip the corporate assembly lines and find a place that still remembers what cooking actually means. Your taste buds and your morning will thank you. If this changed how you think about your morning meal, hit like and subscribe. Because the truth about breakfast isn't always on the menu, but it should be on your plate.